Yeah, so we're back on the SportsMax Zone on this Friday and to football with the CONCACAF Gold Cup story now. The Reggae Boys are set to battle Guadeloupe in Group C at the CONCACAF Gold Cup, all this being in the United States of America. The Reggae Boys enter the fixture as favourites and have not been beaten by their French-speaking rivals since 1978. The last time the teams met was the final of the Caribbean Cup back in 2010 when the Jamaicans won 5-4 on penalties after a 1-1 draw. Now, while the Reggae Boys opened their Gold Cup campaign with a 2-0 win over Suriname, 10-man Guadeloupe, they faltered, losing by 3-1 to Costa Rica, and coming off the defeats for Caribbean teams last night, with Martinique and Haiti being beaten by the USA and Canada. The expectation here is that Caribbean team will be on winner's road tonight with the form of the Jamaicans. Joining us to look ahead to this clash, the former TNT international, Brent Sancho. Brent, we were discussing the Reggae Boys and what they have done so far in the tournament. They have put their starting lineup out for tonight's game. Andre Blake, Damian Lowe, Liam Moore, Alvis Powell, Amari Bell, Michael Hector, Daniel Johnson, Blair Turgott, and up front Leon Bailey, Corey Burke and Shamar Nicholson. Obviously Bobby Reid, who scored that fine goal from outside the box, is not in because he has COVID-19. But your thoughts on what sort of opposition the Guadeloupe team may offer for the Jamaicans in this fixture, which starts in the next half an hour or less?
Good afternoon, Lance, and of course, good afternoon to all the rest on the panel and as well your listeners. Look, I am a bit concerned for the teams that would have gone through the qualifying process and have now gotten to this phase as it relates to, of course, Guadeloupe, Trinidad and Tobago, Guatemala, and of course, El Salvador. What we've seen, and it's been a prominence with these teams, it seems to be a bit of fatigue because they're now going into their fourth game, in probably about 10 days or so, 10 to 12 days. And we are seeing a fatigue stepping in with a lot of these teams. Guadeloupe, as you mentioned, would have lost to Costa Rica and looked a shadow of themselves from the team that started off in the qualifying phases. And I feel that is going to hold through in this particular fixture.
Yeah, of the Jamaican lineup though, you were mentioning your discomfort with Michael Hector in that holding midfield position. I'm not exactly sure what position he plays in tonight, but we have gotten the feeling over time that in spite of your concerns and many others having concerns, Whitmore seems okay with Hector at holding midfield.
Yeah, I think he's okay, Lance, because from a defensive standpoint, he is certainly an addition to the squad. He is a positive to the squad. But you're talking about a Jamaica team, as I've said before in this program, that is supposed to challenge for the Gold Cup silverware. And as we've seen before, with teams are trying to set up a defensive-minded approach, sometimes they leave themselves short when it comes to scoring goals. And that's my concern with Jamaica. I would like to see them dominate, especially a fixture like tonight, where they would dominate the possession side of things. They would dominate shots on goal. They would dominate just throughout in terms of the way they approach playing on the front foot. And I don't think they can do that with Hector.
Corey Burke, I'm not sure if you've seen much of him in the MLS. He is a reasonably regular scorer, has not been for a couple of years a first choice pick for the Jamaica Reggae Boys up front for them, but he gets a start tonight. What are your thoughts on him?
I'm a bit surprised with that in particular, but as you rightfully said, I think what he brings to the team is the ability to do well in 1v1 situations. And I think that's what Coach Whitmore may be looking for. As we've said, Lance, because the team has struggled as it relates to possessing the football, obviously, when they get into these sorts of situations, we saw it, of course, with Nicholson, we saw it, of course, with Bailey, and we saw it with Reid, that they are capable to taking people on and trying to get a final product, and I think that's what he's come in to do as well. And again, it goes away from what I want to see from Jamaica. I want to see them build the ball up in departments and, of course, move the ball forward. And, of course, do things from a perspective of dominating a football game. And I think although the change is a good one, I still worry that the fact that they won't be able to dominate the game from a possession standpoint. And that's what I want to see.
Saying that and saying all of that, Brent, what is true is that the Jamaica team, the lineup that played against Suriname and beat them 2-0, I'd argue that that was the first competitive game that team, that 11 that started, was playing together. So you know better than us that you will have a bit of dysfunction and a lack of coordination, and René Simões' favorite C word, chemistry, would not be a part of the team's play, would not be a feature of the team's play. You would expect that to improve, though, with one competitive game under their belt, a game that yielded a win, and the training sessions which would have happened afterwards, and now players getting to understand each other better and understand how the team needs to function based on what Theodore Whitmore wants them to do.
Yeah, you would hope so, but I think, George, you and I have seen Hector in that position of playing in the six, and I know for a fact that we're both not convinced in his ability.
Well, I've given up on him. I've given up. I'm looking beyond him, though, because we're agreed on him. There's nothing more to say about him. But I'm just saying that you spoke about. I'm going back to
find a way, George.
Yeah,
you have to find a way to possess the ball in the particular lines. And a big part of it, I rate highly the back four, Powell, Lou, etc., and their capabilities on the ball. But at some point, you're going to have to play through the middle of the park. Yeah. And whether or not Jamaica has that capability to do it, with Hector in the side, maybe they have to find other ways. That would mean, George, that the front three may have to play a little bit deeper than they like, and not as far advanced as they will against Suriname to collect the ball. And I think that is where the dilemma is for me. Is if you want that to happen, then it's going to leave you a bit short up front, as it relates to when you're attacking.
Yeah, and to be fair to Theodore Whitmore, Brent, he did, after the Suriname game, concede that the midfield didn't function effectively. And he did single out Hector to say, and Johnson to say, look, there was a lack of coordination between the two. He wasn't satisfied with the contribution. And he said maybe it's because they were playing together for the first time and that they didn't have that level of familiarity, and that he would be looking to get the best out of them. And he also conceded that they did look good in training. Remember, we speculated that clearly they must have looked good in training to get the starting none against Suriname. He said, yes, they did look good in training, as if they could do the job. But match day, it was a different situation. Brent, based on your experience, though, what needs to happen for Leon Bailey to really click? Because I've yet to see Leon Bailey stamp his undoubted class on a Jamaica team. Is it up to the player, or is it the enabling pieces and the enabling system around him?
Well, I want to answer that twofold for you, George. First and foremost, as we said before, you have to get the ball to Leon Bailey in the areas that he wants to operate in. And because there's a deficiency in the middle of the park, they have not been able to do that. So the question is, how do you fix it? For me, how do you fix it? You play Leon Bailey through the middle of the park. Of course, understand the aspect that it may mean he plays a bit deeper. But I think when you're playing against the likes of Guadeloupe and Suriname, etc., start putting into his head, into his game now, that you want him to play a bit more centrally and be able to give him more of a free role to collect the ball and always looking for the football, to take players on, etc., and to create for Jamaica. And if Whitmore is of course accepting of that, I think you would see a better Leon Bailey. But to have him hang out on the right side or left side and expect the ball to get to him through your poor midfield, I think you're just spinning up in mud.
And then question for you then. If it is that you and I are agreed that Michael Hector is not cutting it, and I don't care how well the man plays at training, I've seen him enough to know that defensive midfield is not his forte, why not go 5 in the back then and eliminate the need for Hector by that tactical adjustment? Or why go with 2 pivots any at all? Why do you need Johnson and Hector against a team like Guadeloupe? So 2 scenarios I'm putting to you. Why not go 5 across the back, eliminating the need for one of Johnson or Hector, which of course I'd keep Johnson and leave Hector alone, or make an adjustment where you have an extra attacker or a midfielder with different characteristics, so you don't have to play Hector in the team?
Look, I think horses for courses. If I'm playing against Guadeloupe or Suriname, I would not play 5 across the back. I would certainly play with 1 holding midfielder and, of course, 2 in front of him. And that 2 would be Bailey and 1 other. I may have gone even more attacking. Of course, we know Reed's situation, but I would have gone with 2 players of that ilk in front of Johnson. That's what I would have done. Of course, when you get into the latter stages of the tournament, the knockout stages, then you could look at the probability of playing 5 at the back and see how that works and change your progress. But I think now the Jamaica and the expectancy of it and the talent that Whitmore has at his disposal, I think the Guadeloupe and Suriname game obviously didn't do it in the Suriname game, but this game here now against Guadeloupe, I would have, of course, looked at things a little bit different and, of course, try to function with a more attacking phase, because that gives you confidence going into the knockout stages. Let's not kid ourselves. Jamaica is going to get there. Of course, not tempting any fade here, but I think they're going to get there. But it's a good time and place to start being forceful, demanding, and, of course, looking to impose yourself onto opposition.
So you're choosing the first of the 2 options. So no 5 at the back for Guadeloupe, but you're not playing with 2 midfield pivots against Guadeloupe either.
Yeah, certainly not 2 pivot against Guadeloupe. I would certainly try, of course, trying to possess the ball, of course, be the aggressor in this game. I think when you meet Costa Rica, you may have to look at a 5-back system, maybe 2 pivot players at that situation, and releasing the likes of Bailey and Nicholson, etc., up front, high up the park. But against Guadeloupe, George, I wouldn't do it.
Yes, Brent. And would you say that the absence of Ravel Morrison has impacted and, contributed to the problems in the midfield? If he was there, would it have been a different scenario?
That's a tough one, because history would say to me that Whitmore seems to go on the side of safety before going on the side of being a bit more cavalier, which is strange. I guess it's the same argument that people had with Gareth Southgate and his approach to games, knowing the kind of attacking power that he has on the bench. And we've seen that a lot from coaches where they decide to err on the side of caution. But I still feel he would have somehow figured out a way to be a bit more defensive, and I think that's the one that's scratching all of our heads as well. Against the likes of Guadeloupe and Suriname, you can, of course, take a gamble and be a bit more offensive in your approach.
Yeah. I really think that if Morrison were there, he wouldn't start him either, because he'd be concerned about his work on the other side of the ball, notwithstanding his undoubted quality in attack. Thank you very much, Brent, for taking time to speak with us today. All the best. Enjoy the weekend.
You too, guys. Have a good Friday. Take care. Good talking to you.
Yeah, just as we leave, Lance, Mariah, there's no way I'm playing Guadeloupe as a Reggae Boyz with 2 defensive midfielders. No.
We win in still, though. We win in.